breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin' Baseball Podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of Talkin' Baseball alongside Jamie Lent. I'm Chois Woodman. This podcast provided by the Double T Sports Network and brought to you by Andrus Brothers. Jamie, the dreaded finish to the season podcast, the one we don't want to get to, especially this early, because that means you're done a lot earlier than you want to be. Surprisingly, or maybe surprisingly to some, there's 8 Big 12 teams that still have their season alive playing in the NCAA postseason, but Texas Tech is not one of them. Since we've last talked, you've got a pitching coach change as Matt Gardner has resigned or been let go. It's that time where people are asking, okay, who are you going to keep? Because college sports are so much different than they used to be. It's not, oh, this guy's a sophomore. He'll be back next year. It's, well, can you retain this guy on your roster? Or do you want to retain this guy on your roster? So lots of different things to get into as we kind of put a bow on the season, and this will continue through the next few weeks as well. But starting with the big news, and that's Matt Gardner, no longer the pitching coach, and this is no small thing because he's someone that has been the pitching coach through 4 College World Series appearances. So this is the first major change we've seen under Tim Tadlock in over a decade.
Yeah, he was on the coaching staff for all 4 of them. He was the pitching coach for 2 of them.
True. Yes.
And absolutely has been a big part of the staff. There's a lot that you now have questions about. Just first and foremost, who are the candidates to replace him? Coach Tadlock has been a guy that wants people around him that he knows, he's had a working relationship with, he's coached coached them.
Yep.
Guys like that he knows that he can trust. And so it'll be interesting to see if there's somebody available that can that would fit the bill here, and that would also be somebody that he's worked with, or if he decides to go a little bit differently and go outside, so to speak, his coaching tree and go with somebody else, and maybe bringing in a fresh voice and somebody who's done things differently under a different head coach might be somebody that would make some sense too. I got to believe that the recruiting aspect of it is big as well. So you got to have somebody that wants to help in the recruiting realm and has done that and has some skins on the wall and all that good stuff too. So This is a big decision for Coach Tadlock and his tenure here at Texas Tech to kind of restart this program and kickstart it once again. And so this is a big deal coming up with this offseason to see what happens with replacing Coach Gardner. It's just this coaching staff. I mean, Coach Gardner was not on the very first year of the Tadlock era, came as the volunteer assistant the second year. And then when you look at the guys that were on the staff then, Tim Tadlock, Matt Gardner, J. Bob Thomas, Ray Hayward, Joe Hughes, that whole staff stayed together up until last season when Coach Hughes decided that he wanted to step away so he could spend more time at home, and we totally understand that.
Yep.
And so now Coach Gardner's gone. There's not been a lot of changes.
No.
And so this is a big deal, and this is a big moment for Tech baseball to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, you need to make a good hire here. It's simple because I think, and someone did ask, is this one comes from Cody. It says, is Matt Gardner deserving of being let go, or is he a scapegoat for such a bad season?
It's hard to not look at the numbers in recent years and feel like your pitching staff has been below average, right?
Yeah.
It's hard not to look at some of the guys on this year's roster and feel like they underperformed, okay? Yeah. Guys that either were incoming players, whether it be freshmen, whether it be transfer portal guys, or whether it be guys that just returning from last year's team that didn't take a step forward. But it's also hard for me to not see what Matt Gardner has done for a bunch of guys over the years that have come in, been okay early on and finished their careers really good at Texas Tech.
Right.
and have gone on to have success at the next level, at the professional level. So I think everybody wants to remember the last couple of seasons, and I get it. We live in a "what have you done for me lately" world, but not taking into account what the coaching staff, what the pitching staff was like a few years ago, especially during those last two College World Series runs, and how good it was, and in the 2020 season that was cut short by COVID, and how good it was then. I don't know about the whole scapegoat thing. I mean, there's been times where your offense has struggled too. And that's another thing. I mean, you go to the last two regional berths for the Red Raiders in Gainesville and at Georgia Southern. And in those regionals, Tech pitching was phenomenal.
Yeah.
They couldn't hit. They couldn't score runs. And it wasn't those years. Now, were they terrific, the pitching staff, in the regular season? No.
Yeah.
But they were great when it mattered the most in the regional, and it was your offense that didn't get it done. So I think you can make cases either way.
Sure.
But I think overall, this is just a situation where you can see that something needs to change. And whether that been, Matt Gardner saying, hey, I need to go somewhere else and try to get a fresh start, or Texas Tech just saying, hey, we got to mix things up here a little bit and do something differently. I think everybody that's involved understands and gets it.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure it's hard for Coach Gardner being a local guy and all that. He probably loved being here at Texas Tech and near where he grew up and all that good stuff. That's awesome. But ultimately, it feels like this was a situation where you just needed to do something different. You need to change things up. You can't change out the whole team. Well, you kind of can in college sports
nowadays.
Now you can.
Go look at Kansas's roster.
Yeah, but you got to do something a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a combination of both. That's
absolutely.
what you're saying.
Absolutely.
It is a scapegoat thing. It is hey, some changes have to be made after a season like that. But it's also you've seen some decline in the numbers.
The numbers of last year, you were one of the worst pitching staffs in the Big 12.
So yeah, I think so. It stinks. It's the nature of the beast, especially when you develop relationships with guys like that, or if you or for him that has, like you mentioned, got to come closer to home for a long time. But it's the business of college athletics. Now, another question from the other side of the business of college athletics now, the real business side, is this one comes from Matt. It says, after a season like that, is it a slap in the face where we'll have a donor willing to step up like we did for softball to make a real change?
I think that there are a lot of players on this roster that you want to keep, okay? You had some really good individuals this year. What you didn't have was depth, okay?
Yes.
And I think from what I've been told, there have already been overtures to these guys to already try to convince them, give them reason to stick around and come back, okay? Guys that you want to come back. That may be guys that still have eligibility, they want to go elsewhere, or it may be guys that maybe are in their junior season and could go to the draft, but you want them to stay, okay?
Yep.
And so I think before this season ended, you were already working on making sure these guys that you wanted were going to get a chance, that you were hoping that they would come back, okay? Right. So I would assume that was helped out by donors, okay? Yeah, so
it'd be surprising if it wasn't.
If it wasn't, right? Ultimately, that's the way you keep them around, right?
Yeah.
It's not the only thing, but it's a big part of it.
It matters.
Yes. So I think that some of that is the question that came in there. Would it be a slap in the face? Do you feel like, man, we got to do something, or you're going to keep heading in the wrong direction?
Yeah.
I would think that there were plenty of people that felt that way. And so hopefully that's the case.
It's easy to sit here and spend other people's money and all that. It's easy to say, you need to do this, need to do that. But it does, in today's college athletics, whether you like it or not, it does take one of those major donors or multiple, saying, hey, we didn't like this year. We haven't liked this the last couple of years. This has really stung. Let's go ahead and make a change, because you've done that in other sports. You've done that in football. You've done that in basketball. You've done it in softball. So,
and I think it's here at Texas Tech, it's eye-popping.
Yep.
right? Because it's right there in your face. You've seen what you've done with men's basketball and what you're doing with football, or you're attempting to do with football, and what you're now doing with softball. And you see that hasn't been the case with baseball. So it's very, right there in your face.
Sure.
Like, you see the finances are a big part of this.
Yeah. So, and, I've heard from so many people, and so many people I think that are baseball people, like, you think Tadlock's just not? I mean, this has been a tired thing I've heard, and I don't think it's people that are angry or anything like that. I think it's just misinformed or ignorant to the situation, where so many people are like, why is Tadlock not willing to play the NIL game?
Yeah.
And I think that's just a silly thing if you really look at it. Most of your main production this year came from guys that did not start at Texas Tech. There's a couple that were big. Damian Bravo's a homegrown guy. But, I mean, Robin Villeneuve's huge for you. Logan Hughes is huge for you.
Jack Siebert.
Yeah, you can just roll down the list. There's a handful that are the high school guys, but it's not like he's not willing to play the NIL game or willing to play the transfer portal game.
Yeah, I don't know where the misinformation comes. I mean, first and foremost, I know Coach Tadlock said on one of his coaches' shows that he wouldn't be able to, and I think this was in comparison to softball, where you can pay one player a large amount and that changes the game.
Yeah.
And I think he said you can't do that in baseball, or I wouldn't want to have a team where you had one guy making more than the entire rest of the roster.
Yeah.
It's different. They're different sports, okay?
Completely.
Different sports. And if the information was taken from that and twisted to he doesn't want to pay players, that's a joke, because Coach Tadlock wants to take care of his guys and get them, for so long they've not been on full scholarships.
Sure.
And they'd have to pay to play for Texas Tech. He wants all of that to be changed, just like any other coach across the country when it comes to baseball coaches. So I think he's in favor of his guys getting paid. I do think he still believes that you build your team not through having 25 guys that are transfer portal guys.
Yeah.
I think he believes that you build your team by having a core of high school kids that come in and are factors on your team, and then you put pieces around them that whether that comes through the transfer portal or guys that have grown up in your system. And so it's not all about the portal and bringing in guys with NIL money. Hey, sometimes you used to have to use the NIL money to bring in the freshmen too.
That's true.
Okay? I mean, you look at TCU's awesome recruiting class. If they had five freshmen on the All Big 12 team this year, 3 of them are superstars. I'd be shocked if they're not major league players. I bet that didn't come cheap. Okay? They may have just be freshmen, but I bet they had offers from teams all across the country.
I would guess you're completely accurate. All right, we'll take a break real quick, hear from our friends at Andrews Brothers, and after that, we will come back and look at the roster. Jamie will give us his top guys you want to see return for next season.
When you want the brand in West Texas roofing, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Like our Red Raiders, Andrus Brothers knows that to win, you have to be better than your competition and you have to dominate in all phases. With over 40 years experience, Andrus Brothers has mastered these concepts. So when the high winds and debris damage your roof, there's only one company to call, Andrus Brothers Roofing. Accept no substitutes. Stick with the starters on the ABR winning team. Andrus Brothers Roofing, we nail it every time.
All right, Jamie, looking ahead to next year, and we've still got a few more weeks to kind of wrap this season and bridge gaps, because we will get news of guys moving on or that sort of thing that comes with the off season, and obviously we're going to have a pitching coach addition sometime down the road, and don't know the timeline on that just yet, but looking specifically right after the season, who are your 3, 4, 5, you can give whatever number you want, but the guys that you feel like have to be the core to keep for next year's roster?
Well, I think it starts with, since we can't have Jack Siebert back.
Right.
Okay, he has run out of eligibility. Have they put any new NCAA rules in where...
I don't know, man.
I don't know, if you wear high stirrups, you get an extra year of college baseball.
If you had to spend too long in the state of Florida because it's so humid, then that doesn't count against you. Maybe that's one of them.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Well, Jack Siebert, you would love to have him back, but his time is done.
Yeah.
because his NCAA eligibility is expired, and we wish Jack the best of luck.
Yep.
Man, great first year, only year for the Red Raiders.
There's guys, and we've seen this through basketball and other sports, where you're like, man, if we could have only had him one more year in this portal era, it's like, he definitely qualifies.
Yeah, he would be one of those guys. Yeah. But beyond that, I would start with your outfield, right? And I look at Logan Hughes in left field, who I would say was your offensive MVP this year.
Yep.
Led you in home runs on the Big 12 Conference and home runs.
Conference, yeah.
Led you in RBI. Hit above 300, was a high on base percentage guy, solid defensively, both in left field, and also played some first base a few times and was good there as well. I think he's number one on my list. And then I would go to...
And you got to think he's going to be sought after by others too because of those numbers.
Yes, and that's why I think we've heard the Texas Tech, even before the season was over,
right,
let's get this figured out. Let's get this deal done.
Yeah.
Let's get this figured out. And so I expect to see Logan Hughes back in left field for the Red Raiders again next year. And I think that's a great start to putting your lineup together. Now, I'm normally you're talking about college baseball and you're talking about guys playing for 3 years. Okay. And they hit the draft, and depending on where they get drafted, and you'll get a signing bonus that's involved. But unless you're one of those first couple round guys, it's not a life-changing signing bonus, right?
Right.
Okay, I would put Damian Bravo in that category. Okay, Bravo I expect would get drafted, but I expect it would be a little bit later, and I don't know if the money that he's going to get in a signing bonus would be as much as Texas Tech could give him here. Okay? And so the next guy on my list that I would want back is Damian Bravo. Okay?
Yep.
And I feel like you have a legitimate chance to do that. Damian, to me, has been a great Red Raider over the last 3 years. Just a really quality kid and a great baseball player as well. A good leader, says the right things, plays hard all the time, all the above. So hopefully Bravo comes back. Unless, at the same time, if Bravo gets drafted high enough, I think we'd all, as Red Raider baseball fans, will be thrilled for him, right? Go forth and be conquer and wave our banner far and wide, right?
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Yep.
So that's another guy.
I think Bravo's on that list solely of you don't let him go somewhere else.
Yeah, no doubt.
If he goes MLB, great. If not, then we want you back here.
Bravo would be on my list of guys that I would be shocked that would want to play somewhere else.
Agreed.
He seems like he's a guy that's bought into being a Red Raider.
Yep.
Yes, and I said the same thing about Mason Molina. So,
knocking on this wood.
All right. Okay, other guys on the list. I mean, I know he didn't have the season that we wanted him to have necessarily, but I feel like Mac Hewer's another guy. Okay?
I agree. Yep.
Mac's a draft eligible sophomore. Okay, so he could get taken in the draft this year, but again, he would still have leverage another year after next season as well. I think the fact that he did struggle this year, but we also saw really good stuff from Mac at times this year. Yep. Probably his draft stock is not as high as he wants, so maybe he comes back for that third season at Texas Tech and takes that step forward. Yep. And that you're hoping that he would have taken last year, and maybe he takes it this upcoming season, and so that's a big difference. He would be on my list.
He's one of those big, he's the guy that looks the part, looks like, so you would think if he can come back and have a really good junior year, that he could really elevate that stock to top 3 rounds potentially.
Yeah, he could pick up 10 rounds.
Yeah.
Right, with a good junior season, no question. No question. All right, so we found out before the season ended that guys like Robin Villeneuve had another year of eligibility because he played a couple junior college seasons. So Robin, I think, great team leader, led you in batting average this year, high in on base percentage and RBI, and was terrific defensively for the Red Raiders. So I think you'd be crazy not to want him back as well.
Yeah.
Veteran player that's been through the ringers of the SEC, now a year in the Big 12, all the above. I think you'd love to have him back. So those are some of the names of guys that I mean. Tracer Lopez is another one with me. If you just take the second half of last season, really when Big 12 play started, I mean, it really kicked in for Tracer Lopez.
Yeah.
That was the best we've seen from Tracer Lopez. He was one of the best, probably 6 or 8 infielders in the Big 12 conference of the second half of last season with his average and what he was doing defensively. He's got the ability to play both positions, both short or second. So I think you'd love to have Tracer Lopez back. He seems like one of those guys that'd be a really good senior to have on your roster. Again, another leader. So that's another guy that I think you would love to have back. I'd love to have a healthy TJ Pompey and a healthy Parker Hutera back.
Those would be
I
good.
think those two would have made a massive difference
Agreed.
for this year's baseball team. Healthy seasons out of them. So I would expect both of them to be in the mix for the Red Raiders next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of the guys that I just mentioned, I feel like you have a great chance to bring them back.
Yeah.
Each and every one of them. If that's the case, you can see there's really quality pieces there, right?
Yeah.
And I know there's plenty of other guys that I haven't talked about.
Kyler Thompson's one, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of other good pieces there. We can get into what you need to add. I think you need to add more power, right?
Definitely.
You obviously need more frontline pitching. Okay, all three of your weekend starters I expect to be back. Zane Petty and Tyler Boudreau as well. Can they take that next step forward?
That's the question.
That's the big question because, I mean, how many, yes, they weren't great. There were times where they were individually really good. You just didn't get a lot of consistency from those guys. But to be able to start a season saying we got all three of our weekend starters back would be huge. So bring all those guys into the fold. Again, I think there's quality players. There just wasn't enough depth this year. And so when one of those guys would falter or go into a slump or whatever, it would affect you way too much because you didn't have others to lean upon.
Yeah, and that's what I looked through this roster, Jamie, and I'm like, man, okay, you'd really like to have him. You'd like to have him. You've got so many good pieces. You just couldn't put it together or just couldn't mesh it well this year for whatever reason. When it wasn't the pitching, it was the hitting. When it wasn't the hitting, it's the defense. It's just
and the starts, man.
And the starts is what
playing from behind. I just think is mentally taxing for a team.
So I mean, I look at it, and you're going to have to obviously make some changes. Some of these guys won't be here next year, but all in all, it's a roster you can work with a core and try to build something off of. Heck, you won the series against the Big 12 champs this year in Arizona.
Yeah.
You won plenty of games. You only get swept once, I think, the whole Big 12 season. You had plenty of good moments. You just didn't put it together to have great games as a whole. So I think there's a core to build around, and we'll get into it more, looking at more position-by-position stuff over the next few weeks and kind of project forward. But that's all the time we have for today. We appreciate you joining us and tuning in all season long. We'll continue with more changes this offseason and keep these going with Talkin' Baseball. For Jamie Lent, I'm Chois Woodman. It's been the Talkin' Baseball podcast, powered by the Double T Sports Network.
Breaking down Red Raider baseball like only we can. This is the Talkin' Baseball podcast from Double T 97.3 and DoubleTSportsNetwork.com.